used astrology and magic to look across space and time. And even in his day, he was considered one of Europe's most important visionaries.
Nostradamus was a very famous person in his own time. Even before he started writing the things that made him famous, he was the court physician and astrologer to the Queen of France.
A physician, an astrologer, but also a seer, Nostradamus was a Renaissance man in more ways than one. But more than 400 years after his death, he is remembered mostly for his book, ʻkeɪsiː, a collection of 1,000 visionary poems he wrote between 1555 and 1558.
He planned 10 volumes, 1,000 predictions, of which only 942 survive. And they basically look at the profound flows and inclinations of the future. They're not written in stone. There are hundreds of prophecies that indicate alternative futures.
Nostradamus' material is clearly clothed in symbology and arcane references and open to different interpretations.
But many of them proved eerily accurate, especially those that were fulfilled in Nostradamus' lifetime. His most famous one predicted the death of the King of France in a jousting tournament 4 years before it happened. In 1559, Henry II confronted the young Count Montgomery in a jousting tournament.
The young lion, he will surmount the old one, on the field of combat in single battle told.
Both men carried shields emblazoned with lions.
The younger lion, Count Montgomery, did not lower his jousting stick soon enough, which pierced through the golden visor of the king. He will pierce his eyes through a cage all golden. Count Montgomery, his jousting stick split into large splinters, one wounding the king in the throat, another just behind the eye, blinding him and going into his brain. The final line gives us the denouement, the epilogue to all of this. 2 wounds become 1, then dying in cruel death's cold. The king lingered for 10 agonizing days, and he finally died from peritonitis of the brain.
It's believed that Nostradamus also predicted the French Revolution. From the enslaved people, songs, chants, and demands. In the future, by such headless idiots, these will be taken as divine utterances. The rise and fall of the Emperor Napoleon. From the simple soldier, he will aspire to empire. From a short robe, he will aspire to the long. And Hitler's rise to power. The greater part of the battlefield will be against Easter, when the child of Germany observes nothing. He also had ominous visions of the new millennium. The year of the great seventh number is accomplished, appearing at the time of the games of slaughter, not far from the age of the great millennium, when the dead will come out of their graves. So far, this dark vision of our times has not come to pass. But Nostradamus continues to reign as one of the world's greatest prophets.
Why people get so convinced that Nostradamus knew what he was talking about is that once you set an interpretation on a given quatrain and you think you know the historical event that it refers to, it's really hard to see that there could have been other alternatives that would have worked just as well.
Nostradamus remains a controversial prophet, but across the Channel in Yorkshire, England, another seer was having visions of the future, and hers were vivid images of what was to come.
Mother Shipton was a contemporary of Nostradamus. She was born in the late 1400s and died in 1561, just about 5 years before Nostradamus.
In verse, Mother Shipton is said to have given detailed descriptions of a future that was yet to unfold.
And now a word in uncouth rhyme of what shall be in future time. Around the world men's thoughts will fly, quick as the twinkling of an eye. Beneath the water men shall walk, shall ride, shall sleep, shall even talk. For in these wondrous far-off days, the women shall adopt a craze to dress like men and trousers wear, and cut off their locks of hair.
It is said she also predicted the Second World War and the end of the world as we know it.
In 1926, build houses light with straw and sticks, for then shall mighty wars be planned. and fire and sword shall sweep the land. But those who live the century through, in fear and trembling this shall do, for storms shall rage and oceans roar when Gabriel stands on sea and shore, and as he blows his wondrous horn, old worlds shall die and new be born.
Was she predicting the future, or simply imagining it?
Prophets, if they were archers, what they would do is shoot an arrow into the wall and then have somebody paint a target around it. They let out this vague kind of statement that could be read multiple ways, and they rely on their hearers to put the interpretation into it that fits best for them.
But there is still another prophet whose chilling prediction continues to echo across the centuries and resounds all the more ominously today. St. Malachi's prophecy of the popes. St. Malachi was a bishop who lived in 12th century Ireland. On a visit to Rome in 1139, he was struck by a vision. Before him appeared a series of Latin phrases identifying the 111 popes who would rule the Catholic Church until the end of time.
He uttered 111 Latin mottos, which are supposed to represent the nature, the name, or destiny, or the coat of arms of every pope until Judgment Day.
Many of these phrases are considered too precise to be mere coincidences. John the 23rd, the 107th pope in the prophecy, is referred to as Pastor et Nautum, pastor and sailor. Before becoming pope in 1958, he was the Patriarch of Venice, a marine city. Paul VI is Flos Florum, flower among flowers. His coat of arms, a lily among lilies.
John Paul II, who is called De Labor Solis in the prophecies, which means the sun's eclipse, the sun's labor. He is the only pontiff on the list that was born on an eclipse and later entombed during an eclipse.
And the 111th and final pope in the prophecy?
De Gloria Olivae, from the glory of the olive. That's the current Benedict XVI.
At the end of the list, Malachi is said to have uttered a final and ominous phrase. This one, unnumbered. During the final persecution, the seat of the Holy Roman Church will be occupied by Peter the Roman, who will feed the sheep in many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed, and a terrible judge will judge his people. The end. Is Malachi describing the end of the Catholic Church, or the end of the world as we know it? Is Peter the Roman the last pope after the current Pope Benedict XVI? Some experts believe that since the motto is unnumbered, they are actually one and the same. St. Malachi, Nostradamus, and Shipton, they all predicted events that have since become history. But who are today's foretellers, and what can they tell us about our fate?
8:15. 22, 29.
Robert Zoller is a medieval astrologer, a modern-day Nostradamus. For 30 years, he's been looking to the stars to decipher the future, and he's made some predictions of astounding accuracy.
America will have a new president, and he will be in the stamp of Bush, a younger, more inexperienced version from the same house. There is an increasing threat to the U.S. citizens, and this is particularly so on the eastern seaboard. If the U.S. does not cease acting incompetently, it will invite the depredations of adventurers such as Osama bin Laden and Saddam. The greatest period of danger is in September 2001.
Coincidence, or do the stars actually predict the future?
Number is actually the key to astrology. The sequence of integers between 1 and 9, and later the addition of 0, was seen by some of the ancients as being the basic principles whereby being became articulated into something. Astrology rests upon this kind of thinking. The signs themselves come down to number.
Why it seems to work, no one knows. But many ancient civilizations also believed the stars and nature held the answers to many of life's mysteries.
The Mayans and the Hopis, as virtually all indigenous people throughout the world, were very connected to the sky. The Mayans in particular were very sophisticated in noticing the rhythms of the heavens and building elaborate calendars. with great accuracy.
The Mayan calendar, which was designed in order to calculate the seasons, was also a prophetic tool. The calendar ends abruptly on December 21st, 2012, and Mayan prophecy describes dark events surrounding that time.
The face of the sun will be extinguished because of the great tempest.
In a similar way, another Native American culture, the Hopis, have a prophecy that there would be times of great destruction, a day of great purification.
These are the signs that great destruction is here. The world shall rock to and fro. The white man will battle people in other lands, those who possess the first light of wisdom. The fourth world shall end soon, and the fifth world will begin.
The Hopi Indians, in their final warnings, are saying the world has been destroyed and reborn at least 4 times. Many native traditions say 4 times, and we're entering the 5th time.
But according to some, these common themes in prophecy are nothing more than patterns of history.
All prophets are predicting similar sorts of things. They're essentially talking about how history sort of repeats itself and you get the same sorts of things in cycles.
Perhaps, but there is one man whose prophetic and predictive talents continue to baffle even the most hard-nosed skeptics. With his 8th grade education, he uncovered secrets of our past that no historians could have known. He predicted wars, diagnosed and cured illnesses, and saw cataclysmic changes to our planet that only scientists could have described. And he did it all in his sleep. For 43 years of his life, a man named Edgar Cayce had the amazing ability to put himself in a trance and provide individuals with detailed information about virtually anything they asked about the present, the past, or the future.
Edgar Cayce is probably the most profoundly important clairvoyant of all time.
He was clearly the most gifted psychic of the 20th century.
He predicted the Second World War, the deaths of presidents, the future of medicine, and diagnosed illnesses in his sleep. His psychic readings, 14,306 of them, are all archived and cataloged at the Association for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, Virginia. They remain the most massive collection of psychic material collected from a single source.
Edgar Cayce didn't give 10, 20, 500 readings in